talking about the new channel that just launched, Entrapped. We just got done watching Thom Hamner's first video. I mean, what's your initial reaction to this, Jim?
I know Thom, so I probably have a bit of a biased view. I know Thom's a good guy, a hard worker. He's a family man. He's tries to do the right thing. He wants to do the right thing. He always wants the right thing to happen. He's a seeker of fairness and justice, and so I'm biased because I'm friends with the guy. Okay, so knowing about his whole January 6th thing, it actually kind of this is America. This is a country of rebel rousers, whiskey drinking, gun shooting, doing burnouts, wanting freedom loving type of people. That's what we're supposed to be. He went down for an event. That's basically it. Marching. We have a history of events, marching against things, marching against the establishment, being mad about being overtaxed, overworked, our money taken away from us, our freedoms, our rights, our liberties. Why we all know as citizens of America that the only thing the government's supposed to do is infrastructure, security, and then enforcing your rights, your liberties, your sovereignty, your freedoms as a citizen. So he went down to the event for January 6th to march and listen to the president speak. He had a bad situation happen with the thing, seeing people being tased, bleeding, trying to help people, seeing things are getting out of control when he's just going for an event. I do believe that he went there with good intent to be a good person and stuff. I'm glad he got his pardon and he can start working on bringing his life back and not being treated like crap for having a belief. Whether people agree with it or not, that's not important. It's his freedom to have a belief in something. My biggest qualm and quarrel with any of this stuff is that anytime there seems to be in the modern era a march, a rally, a gathering of people with beliefs, whatever they are, agree or disagree, not relevant. If the establishment approves, you can burn, rape, murder, pillage, destroy, break everything, kill your neighbor, steal from your neighbor's store or house, take their cars, their TVs from stores, businesses, whatever in your community, and it's fine. They'll have video of you doing it. They won't look for you on the internet and stuff. But the January 6th stuff for 6 hours versus like the 6 months or whatever it was of that old Summer of Love. They tracked them down on the internet, just regular people. They didn't talk to them or nothing. They just started issuing warrants and cupping them up and going, oh, I have a still picture of this or that. They didn't talk to people. They just started cupping and imprisoning people. They really wanted it to make an example of if you're not establishment approved, if you're not approved by a bunch of career, filthy, crooked politician idiots that rob and steal from us constantly, that waste your money and waste your time and violate your freedoms. You're not approved by one of them to go be a rebel rouser in their sense, that you'll be held accountable. They were sure serious about with that. I mean, what happened with even, watching his thing? They didn't do nothing for man, what was that lady's name? Babbitt, I think, right? Bobbitt? I can't remember. Ashley. She was a veteran. She got shot and killed there. Nobody, it's like, okay, whatever. Who cares is what they seen. They didn't hold that Capitol police officer accountable. The establishment was like, screw the police the whole time unless it's their police. Screw the police unless it's Capitol Police for a bunch of swampy career politician types that have just made a career out of stealing from everybody and violating your freedoms. So yeah, it's pretty messed up. Thom's had a pretty rough time after this, and he's had to, do some stuff. And I don't think Thom's a bad guy by any means. I do think he was trying to do the right thing and wanted to do the right thing and wanted to be at the right place to do the right thing. I know Thom was helping people. I do. I believe he was helping people. I do. I don't think he was doing anything bad. I think he went there with good intent, and it's just a situation that was bad timing and bad place and bad things happening.
I find it awful to think that they just blanketly denied bail to almost all of these January 6ers. It just seems like a giant misstep in our criminal justice system. Um, there's zero reason why Thom and other J6ers should not have received bail and be allowed out while they wait for their trial.
Especially in a time when they're doing that with like illegals that are non-citizens. Oh, well, they need to have a trial and not be detained and need to be released. And then for their own citizens, if they have a legal discrepancy or disagreement about whatever it may or may not be, they go bail denied. Screw you. You're a citizen. You get less.
Yeah, and we already know that if somebody is out, they have a better chance when it comes to their trial of being able to prepare for it and being in the right mindset for their trial. It just seems like this was a way to. I actually think, to be honest with you, that the justice system realized that they probably were not going to be able to hold up a lot of these indictments and charges post conviction. And so I think they wanted to just make sure they got their jail time in case if all of these were to be overthrown or somebody like Trump were to come in and pardon everybody. I mean, ultimately, Trump is going to pardon everybody, but it doesn't change the fact that Thom spent 26 and a half months in jail, that some of these guys had spent 2-3 years in jail. Definitely no right to a speedy trial. I think that's one of the biggest flaws that we have when it comes to upholding our Constitution and our Bill of Rights. I think people really forget that you have that right to a speedy trial, and oftentimes it's been so far delayed. I mean,
You know what I think that people forget? I think people forget that they just drew political lines and go, it's not part of the political party I liked with what they were being mad about and this and that, or whoever they voted for and stuff. And they forgot. They forgot that these are your neighbors. These are your brothers, your sisters, your aunts, your uncles, your grandparents, your nephews, your cousins. These are just people, man, that are working every day too. You know, they like to say that with like everything else, anything as long as it's their political angle. These are just people. You know what? The January 6th stuff, that I'm not a marcher. I'm not a protester. That's not me. I'm not that type of person. I make my stances solo and do my stuff. I'm different. But these are just people, man. These are overworked, overtaxed, tired, irritated people. They're just people. They forget that with everything goes on because if it's not part of their political agenda or something, they go, "Oh, well, this is that. That's a traitor. That's this or that." You know, it's oh, they're megas and they're this and they're just Trumpsters and they hate everything that I'm about and so screw them. They get no things. You know what? Start if you're gonna treat anything bad, start treating real things bad. Rapists, pedophiles, sex traffickers, murderers. You know, could you imagine real things being held this accountable and then just the scrutiny of this? You know, they released real problems out on the street, but they violated everybody's freedoms and rights and liberties. That's a citizen, a hardworking, tax-paying, which means they're funding stuff. I'm not justifying any of the real problem people. If you broke stuff or violated things or broke into things, I'm not justifying that. I'm talking about just the people out just protesting and marching around. That is one of their rights. And it shouldn't just be a right of convenience because the establishment finds it to be in favor of what they're about. So I think everybody needs to kind of remember, like Thom and others like Thom, that these are just people, man.
well, I find it very interesting as the Diddy trial progresses on, the fact that this has got to be the fastest time to a jury trial in a high profile case that we've seen in quite some time. I mean, Diddy kind of got rushed into this trial when you look at it in comparison to other high profile cases.
Yeah, they give the old diddler a quickness trial and try to treat him more like people when it's looking like he's a sick freak.
Well, I'm thinking that they did it for a very specific reason, probably to pull. I think every time that we have some of these high profile cases, it is a distraction point. They're going, hey, look over here, right?
You'll slide a
Everybody,
hand,
yes.
tricks.
Yep, slide a hand. What are we doing while everybody's looking over here? It's like the state legislature, right? We're going to put these absolutely atrocious bills on the docket so that everybody's looking at these atrocious bills while we're secretly on the side just passing laws, taking away your rights, increasing your taxes, but you're not looking at that because you're so focused on the atrocious bill that they've put forth.
Right. And that's the thing with a lot of this stuff. The whole American experiment. It says we the people, not them the system. And everybody forgets that the government, the establishment, the setup, it's just people making and inventing these obscure things that the rest of us are fighting about because everybody's forgotten. No matter what you think with everything, all of us good, normal, everyday, just working people. When I say normal, I mean that's people just trying to be good. All right. What is it? 100% of the time, we agree. Actually, 100% of the time, we all agree because we want it better. The 10-20% differential is like stuff that's politicized. It shouldn't be politicized. Whatever you're doing at your house, in your religious beliefs, ethnic groups, sexual orientations, race, creed, all this stuff, that's just stuff to keep us fighting because it says we the people. These are just people, man. It's just your neighbors. These are just regular people from the community. And we've all forgotten this and lost it. We don't have to be friends to be neighbors. Just you want it better, be better. Nobody knows quite how to do it. There's no instruction manual for doing this or making it good or bad or trying to make it better. You just kind of take a swing and stop. And I think with a lot of people with January 6th, especially, I think with a lot of protesting riots, I think a lot of people are just wanting to make it better and things get spun out of control sometimes because nobody ever self-polices some of these things. But I think the January 6th one, as far as any that I've seen throughout history, it's my time alive. I don't, it was a pretty controlled one. I mean, you got to remember, I'm from a whole different era. We used to pump fuel and then pay. I've seen Rodney King and stuff like that, and I think that was pretty jacked up, the old Rodney King stuff, and that was some cops throwing bricks at Rodney King and things, And you look at that, I see why people were mad about that. That made sense, to be honest with you. So I've seen a lot of these things throughout the years, but the modern ones, they're different. They're just different. It's not part of the political agenda of the establishment. They just treat them like crap, man. They want to hold them accountable, make an example, and treat them like crap, going, don't you ever rise against us. Don't you ever say a bad word. Don't you congregate or gather, any of you, against us. Because guess what happens? We'll say it's worse than Pearl Harbor. The hell it was. Pearl Harbor was an atrocity. That was a terrible thing to happen. To compare the two, that's an insult. An absolute insult to especially like World War II veterans or people that were at Pearl Harbor or had family members that were. That's an insult. That's not comparable. That's two different things. An insurrection. Get out of here. If that thing was happening like they said it was, it would have been entirely different. But, if people did damage things, yes, they should have to pay for them and be accountable and repair and have charges put. I got that. I get that stuff. Vandalism and trespassing and things. I understand those kind of charges, but putting someone in jail for over 2 years? Why? Don't make any damn sense.
Yeah, there's a couple interesting things, and I would every time you say the American experiment, I just think because the UK called it the Great Experiment when they were testing out socialism, or the Socialist Experiment. So I think we should have the next conversation on what is the American experiment. We can't go into it on this episode, though, Jim. Don't go into it yet.
Yeah, because I will.
Well, we'll go into it tomorrow. But no, I am very interested to hear what your definition of the American experiment is. And it throws me every time those words come out of your mouth mashed together there. Yeah, I think it's really interesting what Tom said. If this was an insurrection, it's got to be the worst insurrection ever planned. 100%. I mean, I was scrolling through videos of what happened that day in the Capitol, and most of these people, they're just wandering around, just taking in the nation's capital like tourists. I mean, it doesn't look like they're there with forks, like ready to kill somebody.
There are little kids there too, and it's just wasn't treated accordingly. I mean, look, America's the youngest, like basically, essentially the youngest country in the world, but we have the oldest, long-standing Constitution. If you don't believe me, go look it up on the old interwebs there. Even Google will tell you that. That's what I'm referring to as the American experiment. We're not a country that redoes it all the time. But look, I mean, if Tom broke a barrier or something, yes, Tom should have to pay for the barrier. If he broke a window, he should have to pay for a window. There should always be accountability for things. That's not what I'm not against that. But It is your right to go protest, to go march, to be at an event, to say, no, this is pissing me off. This is wrong. I don't want this to happen. This is bad. Where's the answer? I'd like an answer. Whatever it may be. We marched against racism. We marched for equal rights, civil liberties constantly as a country, just historically speaking. But now, if it's not convenient in the modern era, oh, well, why would you do that? You can't riot or protest over this. You know what I mean? I don't like riots, protesting, marching. Don't riot. Don't riot.
Everybody still maintains their right to assemble, and I think that's what these individuals are doing on that day. And
For the
yes,
most part, yeah.
And we don't even truly know whether or not the ones that were doing damage were the agitators put in place by the FBI.
That was something interesting he was saying. He said there was a lot of agitators and people getting people riled up instead of just standing there for things.
We've known that for a long time. This is like, in fact, we should go into this tomorrow as well. But there's been plenty of FBI agents that we know for sure were in that crowd, just like the case with the Whitmer assassination attempt. There was FBI agents sitting there basically trying to encourage these people to continue down their path of planning a hit job on Governor Whitmer. You haven't heard this?
No.
Oh, my gosh. All right. Well, we don't have time today, but we're going to cover this tomorrow. So join us tomorrow, 10 a.m., Spiritual Insurgency, and find Tom's show on YouTube and Rumble as well, Entrapped with Thom Hamner. See you later. God bless.
You want it better, be better.